you know.
Still on that topic of children and babies in hospital, there's another really touching story on page 3 of the Standard that talks about the shame of babies ditched at KNH for not being perfect. So these are probably children with deformities, children, you know, with our own beliefs and our own hang-ups. We feel like this child is not what I expected. Maybe they're missing a limb, they have some sort of disorder, and then we're having that embarrassing situation where they just decide, you know what, I'm not going home with this child. What do you think about this story? I'll start with you, Mr. Wanyoi.
I think we need to do more in terms of educating our communities in terms of this whole perception of the perfect baby.
Yes.
And because that is the whole stigma that people associate with in terms of the idea of disability as a form of stigma. And we need to realize that it does not necessarily mean that there is a perfect baby.
Exactly,
I mean, so to speak. And if we have also the support systems that are there, then people will know that they can still be able to manage and live a very comfortable life.
Yeah, and of course we're talking about disabilities such as Down syndrome, that if they were managed properly, the kids could just grow up to be normal, well-functioning, well-adjusted members of society. But then we're having an influx of babies being abandoned, and you know, families, how do you trace a family? Kenyatta National Hospital, how do you find the family even? It's really problematic. Could you give us your opinion on this, Mr. Abala?
I think, like my colleague has said, the problem we have is the quest to have designer babies.
Designer babies.
Yes, where we are looking for this perfect kid with all the traits.
Yes, and probably a specific gender. You're probably looking for a boy.
Exactly. Specific gender. I want a boy and a girl. You know, if I have that, I'm okay.
Yes.
And if you have more girls or if you have more boys, you seem to you think you are inadequate.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you have by the way, if you have a disabled kid, a kid with Down syndrome, a kid with all these no perfect limbs or something like that, we don't have support systems. We don't have places where the kids can be brought up as normal. In a normal environment.
I think psychosocial support for the parents, so that they can know that this is not a problem. You're not going to have a disabled, useless member of the family. This is someone with a specific kind of care. They're also going to just grow up in a good way that they can actually, and also to just accept that this is your child.
It is also expensive on them.
It is expensive, actually, So I guess it's also a question of government and the health ministry coming in to support these children. We're having a very sad case here of James Mwangi, who was admitted earlier this year after a lorry ran over his leg while Caroline Duta was taken to hospital by a St. John's ambulance after she delivered on the roadside in South Sea in Nairobi. So, of course, these are just kids. They are helpless, but then they have been left at the mercy of the hospitals. And now the hospital has to decide what to do with them, which is a really catch-22 situation.